This is day 1. He is coming to our world. The earth was full of colorful flowers, small birds, tiny flies, and all kinds of fruits and vegetables. Children were running around happily. Rivers were flowing with great joy. Though every part of the world was beautiful in a different way, somehow it was an unhappy place. Strange events were taking place on it everywhere. People had forgotten Allah who had provided all these beautiful things. They didn't worship Him but rather many different things. Some people worship fire. Some worship the sun. Yet others worship even the cattle they ate. They used to seek help from the toy-like figures they themselves carved out of wood and stones. These objects were called idols, but in reality, it was Allah who created the stones, fire, and wood. He created the cattle and the sun. It was Allah who deserved their worship. The rich oppressed the poor, the female children were unwanted, the poor people were looked down upon, the old were forgotten. The sick went untreated. In short, there was no respect for humankind. No one wanted to obey the laws of Allah. There was total chaos. It was difficult indeed for the world to be a home to such loveless and ignorant people. Allah had sent many messengers since Adam. The messengers called their people to worship Allah alone, to follow the straight path, to do good deeds, and always to remain honest. But each time the people were deceived by Satan after a while and quickly forgot the do's and don'ts of the messengers. 500 years had passed since the coming of Isa, Jesus. Now the world was ready to receive another prophet to stop the injustices, oppression, and cruelty going on everywhere. He would appear and bring the world peace, justice, and prosperity. But when would he come? Day 2. The Kabah, the diamond of the world. Now it was close to the time for the appearance of our prophet. The ruler of Makkah was Abdul Muttalib, a descendant of Abrahah and soon to be the grandfather of our prophet. He loved the Kabah very much and did everything in his power to protect it. He was a great host for those who came to go several times around the Kabah. It was sacred for many people. Allah had asked the Prophet Ibrahim and his son Ismail to build the Kabah. He told them that this holy place was a place of gathering and a place of worship. He asked them to invite people to go on a pilgrimage to the Kabah. So the pilgrimage became a special religious visit related to the Prophet Ibrahim. Since then, people had held the Kabah in great esteem, but they forgot the religion of Abraham and began to worship idols. Still, they respected the Kabah itself. Large crowds who traveled from faraway places came to visit the Kabah in Makkah. But the great interest shown by those who loved the Kabah bothered some evil people. At the head of the people who hated the Kabah was Abrahah, the ruler of Yemen. Abrahah wanted to stop people from visiting the Kabah, so he constructed a great temple and covered it with gold. Then he invited people to his temple. He wanted this temple to be the central shrine instead of the Kabah. The shrines were special places related to some godly people, but not to prophets. A long time passed, but not many people came to his temple. So Abrahah became very angry and decided to destroy the Kabah. He quickly started making preparations. Day 3. the owner of the Kabah. To destroy the Kabah, Abrahah put together a large army, and one morning he set out for Mecca with his army. In Abrahah's army there were giant elephants he had ordered from faraway places, and the like of which the Meccans had never seen in their lives. Abrahah clothed them in colorful fabrics. The strongest of them was a huge elephant he called Mahmud. Mahmud was leading the rest of the army, shaking the earth as it walked. Abrahah was sure that in one attempt, Mahmud would destroy the Kabah. When the army approached Mecca, a group of soldiers seized the belongings of the Meccans. Among the properties plundered by Abrahah's soldiers were 200 camels belonging to Abdul Muttalib. From a nearby hillside, they were able to see the Kabah like a shiny diamond. Before entering the city, Abrahah wanted to see the leader of Mecca. For this reason, he sent for Abdul Muttalib. He told him he had come only to destroy the Kabah, and if no one offered resistance, no bloodshed would take place. Later, he asked him if he wanted anything from him. Abdul Muttalib replied, "Your soldiers grabbed 200 of my camels. I want them to be returned to me." Abrahah was surprised at this response. He said, "I would have expected you to ask me to not destroy the Kabah, but I see now that you are only after your own camels. I had really thought highly of you. I realize now that I was mistaken about your character as a respected ruler." Abdul Muttalib answered, "I am the owner of the camels and have the responsibility to protect them. As for the owner of the Kabah, it is Allah Himself, and He will surely protect it." At this answer, Abrahah went into a rage. He screamed, "He will not be able to defend it against me." Abdul Muttalib shouted back, "We shall wait and see." He got his camels back and returned to Mecca with them. Going straight to the Kabah, he prayed, "My Lord, your servant protected his own property, and now it is your turn to protect what belongs to you." After this, he told the people of Mecca to leave the city, and he himself left with them and climbed a hill to have a bird's eye view of Mecca. They could follow all that would happen from there. Day 4. The Birds of Ababil. Abrahah thought that there was no longer any barrier between him and the destruction of the Kabah. Without losing any time, he gave his army the order to march. At that very moment, Mahmud, the giant elephant that Abrahah trusted so much, knelt down and sat on the ground. The soldiers tried very hard to get Mahmud to stand up, but it was of no use. When they tried to face the army towards Yemen, he was getting up, but as soon as they tried to turn him towards the Kabah, he knelt down again. Nothing worked. While Abrahah and his army were busy trying to get Mahmud to walk towards the Kabah, an unusual event took place. All of a sudden, a cloud of birds hovered above the army. They were the birds of Ababil, and each of them was carrying small pebbles in its beaks and claws. It was strange. They were acting as if they had an order from one and the same source. All at once, they dropped the clay stones on Abrahah's soldiers. As soon as a soldier was hit, he fell to the ground. Abrahah was in shock. Together with a few soldiers, he began running away. But while he was running, a few pebbles hit him, and he fell too. These tiny birds had destroyed a mighty army. Thus, Allah saved the most precious diamond on earth. Day 5. World Celebration. You were not in this world. There were other human beings and other children. There were very few good people. Mischief had spread everywhere. A leader had to come to guide the world. He had to bring happiness. Allah the Almighty had promised that He was going to send a leader and guide. Every creature knew this. The whole world needed it. On a Monday in the month of April in the year 571, something very special happened. That day, the world was extremely happy. It was filled with joy. What was it? What had happened? The face of the earth was bathed all over in a very special light. The guest that the world had been waiting for had arrived. While the world was impatiently awaiting this news, many strange things took place. The Jews who heard this got upset that this new prophet had not come from within their own community. He was the most special servant of Allah. He was the greatest prophet. Right up to that day, all the prophets had praised this prophet. Musa, Daud, Isa, all of them had given the news of his coming. Yes, the long-awaited guest had finally arrived. All Muslims, children as well as adults, then called him the Prophet. So we too are going to call him the same, the Prophet. Day 6. The birth of a prophet. There was a happy mother in the house of Makkah. She was the sweetest and the happiest mother in the world. Her name was Aminah. She was the mother of the expected baby. She was glowing from excitement, smiling from ear to ear. She was to be the greatest of all prophets. Everyone in the room gathered around him. All of them were saying the same thing. What a beautiful baby! The name of the baby's father was Abdullah. Unfortunately, he died before ever seeing his baby, but his grandfather was alive. He was strong, lovable, and generous. He was Abdul Muttalib, the chief of Mecca. The neighbors went directly to Abdul Muttalib. Good news! You have a beautiful grandson. No baby like him has ever come to this world, they said. Abdul Muttalib immediately came back to his house and hugged the baby. He was full of joy. His face was also glowing. He said, "Let his name be Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Let my grandson be liked everywhere and praised everywhere. That is why I have given him this name. Take care of him well. The whole world will know him." Muhammad's grandfather sacrificed an animal for him. He invited many people to come and share his joy. It was a huge celebration. Even the poor took part in the festivities. A sweet happiness has spread everywhere. The city of Mecca was brighter than usual because baby Muhammad was there. Hey, it's day 7. Halimah, the nursing mother. Makkah was a crowded city. The babies could not stand the weather there. It was a tradition of the Meccans to give their newborn babies to another mother known as a nursing mother. The nursing mother would feed and nurse the baby for several months and take care of him in a place with cleaner air. Aminah and Abdul Muttalib searched for such a nursing mother to hire so that she could take care of baby Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam far away from Mecca. Around that time, some nursing mothers had come to Mecca from the plain of Badia. The dry, clean air of the desert plain was the best place for the health of a baby. These women were looking for a baby to take care of. They found some babies and returned to their homes in the desert, but Abdul Muttalib could not find any nursing mother. Most of them did not want to take care of Muhammad because he was without a father, whereas if they saw him, they would have wanted to take him. It would be impossible for them to go without him. There was a very young woman who came on the back of her donkey from Badia. She was wandering on the streets of Mecca with her husband and her camel. Her own baby that she was carrying in her arms was crying. There was not a drop of milk in her breast because she was hungry and tired. During the trip to Mecca, they had a lot of trouble. Her donkey did not want to walk. The old camel did not give a drop of milk. They had come to Mecca with great difficulty. Now, on the streets of Mecca, she was looking for a baby to nurse. Then the poor nursing mother and the grandfather of a baby without a nursing mother met. Halimah smiled. What a wonderful and good-hearted man he was. The old man said, I have a grandson. Nobody wants to take him because he is fatherless. Would you be his nursing mother? Halimah was pleasantly surprised. She did not want to go home empty-handed. She talked to her husband and then accepted the offer. The grandfather took the nursing mother to the baby. Her heart was warm and full of joy and happiness. While the nursing mother Halimah was staring at baby Muhammad with great admiration, he smiled. Halimah took him into her arms and nursed him. And what a surprise! How was it possible? Her milk was more than enough for both of the babies. Because of the difficulties she had faced on her way to Mecca, before seeing baby Muhammad, she had no milk at all. Aminah kissed her baby and smiled upon him. She was happy because she had finally found a nursing mother for him. Now he was going to grow up well, so she prepared him for the journey. She gave him costly gifts to Halimah and then entrusted her baby to her. She knew that Allah the Almighty was going to protect her baby. They sent baby Muhammad off with prayers. It's day 8, the baby that brought great fortune. Beautiful baby Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was leaving Mecca. The nursing mother and her husband wrapped up the baby and headed towards their home. They were wondering how their journey would be. The distance was long, the donkey was weak, and the camel was without milk. With all of this in mind, they headed out. And after a short while, they took a break. In order for infants not to become sick, they had to drink plenty of milk. For this reason, Mother Halimah had to feed herself properly. But during the trip, how could they find milk and other nutrition? Halimah would be so happy if the old camel gave some milk. Halimah's husband, Harith, reached for the udders of the camel. He was going to milk her. He would be pleased even if she gave very little milk. He could not believe his eyes. Milk was dripping from the camel's udders. He immediately started milking. The container in his hand was filled to the top and started to overflow. He shouted to his wife with great excitement, Halimah, Halimah! This baby you took is a wonderful baby. Look at the milk. It's unbelievable. This child is bringing us great fortune. He must be blessed. Halimah looked at baby Muhammad with great hope and said, This is my wish too. They drank the camel's milk until they were full. They strapped the baby's back onto the camel, and with great hope and joy, they continued on their journey. Once they were on the road, they saw another surprising thing. The same donkey which had been walking with great difficulty while coming to Mecca, now as if it were not the same donkey. He was strong and was trotting quite fast. He was trying to carry the guests on his back as quickly as possible to the place where they were heading. How wonderful it was! In a moment, so many things had changed. Suddenly, Halimah's milk increased, the old camel began giving milk, and the weak donkey became strong. What did this all mean? Of course, this was all because of the baby Muhammad, who was to become a prophet, although no one knew yet. Halimah and her husband arrived at their home without any trouble, and now baby Muhammad was at Badiah. Day 9. Halimah's home. Lately, the rain-filled clouds had never come to the plain of Badiah. For a long time it had not rained. Because the rain meant life, everyone's eyes were always on the sky, expecting rain. The life of all animals depended on the water. Without rain, they were left hungry, weak, and without milk. People also needed the rain in order to eat meat, and to drink milk. These were all they had, and without rain, none of it would exist. Children were becoming hungry, and their faces were pale like flour. How wonderful life would be if rain came. When everyone had water, everyone would be happy again. The days passed in this hope and expectation. There was just one home that seemed to be different, as if it was from paradise. It was the new home of baby Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It was Halimah's home. In this home, as in no other, there was great joy and plenty. While other animals were hungry and could not give a drop of milk, Halimah's animals were full of milk and able to supply it. Her children were different from the others too. While the other children were hungry and pale, hers were well-fed and strong. She knew very well the reason for all of these sudden changes. This baby had brought them blessing and joy. Day 10. Halimah's sheep. The other mothers who had chosen not to nurse Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam were all puzzled. When they saw Halimah's fed animals, they yelled at their shepherds, "Go and see how Halimah's shepherd fed their animals. The animals are so full of milk that when they walk, they are unsteady, and milk just drips and drips from them." Even the shepherds were puzzled. Their own animals were eating at the same places, but were not well fed. They went to Halimah and asked how could this possibly happen. In response to hearing this question over and over again, she replied, "I swear that this is not a matter of grazing of the animals. This is simply God's secret gift. Everything started during our return from Mecca." They could not make sense out of Halimah's explanation. They left with the same puzzled faces with which they had come. It's day 11. The desert flowers blossom with joy. When the rain they waited for never came, they were in a very difficult situation. They decided to pray to Allah. They went to a nearby hill, taking their hungry camels sheep without milk, and weak children. They sacrificed some animals and asked Allah to send some rain. Not a drop of rain came. When they were ready to go home, an old woman shouted, "Wait, listen! There is a baby at Halimah's home." When she returned from Mecca, there was great abundance in her home. "That baby brings good fortune. Let's bring him here. Maybe when he arrives, our prayers will be accepted." So they asked Halimah to bring the baby so that they could say their prayers with him present. When Halimah climbed up the hill, she wanted to cover the face of baby Muhammad ﷺ in order to protect him from the sunshine. At that moment, she noticed a white cloud hover over the child like a curtain. She was sure that now that he was a special baby. She kept this a secret and told no one. Someone from the crowd took the baby from her arms and prayed, "This baby is Muhammad of Mecca, who brings blessing to his home. Please, Lord, for his sake, give us rain." As soon as the prayer ended, the sky was filled with clouds. The cloud that was following baby Muhammad all of a sudden turned into a rain cloud. Immediately, a shout of joy rose to the sky. "Rain! Rain! Rain!" There was a celebration all over the plain. The flowers grew sturdy and strong. The land was beautiful again. From that day on, all the animals filled themselves when they grazed, and people filled themselves with milk and meat. Maybe not everyone realized it, but those who took a lesson from what they saw knew now that all of this abundance was given for the sake of Muhammad. It's day 12, the nursing mother's joy. As Halimah promised, she raised Muhammad ﷺ with great care. She taught him to say words one by one and to speak fluently. It was now time to send back the children to their parents. Halimah was sad about this. Over time, she had begun to feel a bond with him and did not want to see him go, but she had to send him back. Even though she and her husband wanted him to stay, they reluctantly got him ready. Finally, they set out for Mecca. The people in their tribe had also gotten used to baby Muhammad. They too did not want to see him go. As Halimah and her husband were leaving, the others shouted behind them, "Please do not take him back. Let him stay some more with us. We haven't seen a child like him before. He brought great fortune to us. Let him stay for a little while." In fact, Halimah wanted this more than anyone else. At the end of the long journey, they reached Aminah's house. Aminah had missed her baby very much. As Aminah was kissing and hugging baby Muhammad, Halimah explained how Muhammad was different from every other child and how all the others in the tribe loved him. She continued describing how nice and well-behaved a boy he was and how he was different from the other children. She described in detail how he slept and walked and talked. As she described these details, Aminah was filled with joy. In those days, there was a plague in Makkah. Aminah was afraid that the disease would reach the child. Halimah was also worried about this, so she had the courage to ask her, "Can he stay with me a little longer? I'm afraid that he will catch the disease if he stays in Mecca." Aminah and Abdul Muttalib were willing to send the baby away a little longer, just to make sure he was safe and healthy. Halimah was so excited that she felt the whole world was hers. She held tight to baby Muhammad and returned with him to the desert. The flowers gave off a lovely fragrance just for baby Muhammad's return. Everyone was spreading the news, congratulating each other. Good news! Muhammad has returned.